Welcome to the Jill on Money podcast. It is Wednesday, October 27th. Mark, I don't think you know this, but my grandparents, my father's parents, their birthday was October 27th. They were born on the same day, same year. Isn't that weird? So happy birthday, Nana and Poppy. And no one's listening to this who knows, but that just sort of means something to me. So anyway, there's that. They are long gone, but their legacy persists. And I'm part of that legacy. So that's nice. We are so happy you're joining us today. This is the program where we try to take the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by answering your questions. All you need to do is go on the website, jillonmoney.com, click the contact button. Tell us what's on your mind. And if you're willing to come on the program, boy, we'd love to have you. That is what Sarah did. She is on the line from Queens, New York. How are you today?
I'm pretty good.
Are you a lifelong Queensian?
I am. I wanted to live somewhere very cool, but I can't seem to get out of Queens. I tried to live in Soho in the 90s, and they showed me a rusty apartment for $1,200. So I'm in Queens.
You have to describe Queens a little bit to people who don't know, but Queens is the most diverse of our boroughs, of the 5 boroughs of New York. You've lived there your whole life, so you can tell us, how has it evolved?
You know, it's gotten a little bit more diverse than when I was a kid. It was pretty diverse. There were a lot of, I think in our block, there were Asian people, there were Jewish people, there were Latino people. But now I think it's even more diverse in terms of class.
And that's interesting because I feel like that's a weird part of New York that really does not happen so much. I mean, it happens on the train. Like when you're on the subway, you're like, everyone's here. Everybody, like really, everybody is here. The neighborhoods, they have pockets. I love that about Queens. Great food in Queens, all over Queens. All right, Sarah, what's on your mind? What can we do for you?
We recently did what I think is kind of a crazy thing, but maybe not. Once the pandemic started, I found myself working at home all the time. And before that, I was kind of half working outside of my apartment, half at home. And my husband works at home. And we are not driving each other quite crazy, but we really decided we needed more room. And so, we're both self-employed in our different businesses. And we recently bought the apartment next door.
Ah, okay. Like literally next door.
Literally next door.
But you're not going to blow through? You're going to keep this as a bit like as an office or what?
We're going to keep it as an office. We went back and forth on the blowing it through. And first of all, it would probably cost about $20,000 just to take the wall down. So, I was like, no, thank you. That, and also I want an office that's very, very quiet. And also eventually the plan is, I live in a co-op. The plan is eventually we use this apartment office for 15, 20 years. Maybe in the future, if we don't need the space, we can sell it.
All right. That seems good. Now, how much did you pay for the adjacent apartment?
It was $300,000.
Did you pay for that with a mortgage?
No, we had to pay cash because it was such a wreck that there was no bank in the world that would give us a mortgage.
Wait a minute. I don't believe you.
No, you cannot. This is something people don't know until they try to buy a wreck. Basically, a bank, at least in New York, will not give you a mortgage if the apartment doesn't have a good bathroom. It does have a bathroom. It's the scariest bathroom I've ever seen. And if it doesn't have a working kitchen, because it's not considered habitable.
You bought an apartment with those two things.
Without those two things,
with those two features.
Yes.
A rotten bathroom. What was in there? Who was in there?
The guy who lived there, it's funny because he was actually very nice, but he traveled all the time. And the rumors go around, no one had ever seen his apartment. He was not like clinical hoarder, but he was borderline hoarder. Like his place wasn't dirty. But he was the kind of person who had lots of boxes. The boxes never moved. And he lived there 35 years.
Oh my God.
He never renovated anything. The tiles started to come off the wall and he duct taped them.
Stop it.
No, he duct taped the bathroom tiles to the wall.
So wait a minute. You got to clean this. How much do you have to spend to clean this thing up?
It's going to cost, actually, we're in the process now. It's going to be under $100K.
And so you had the cash to do this and you have the cash to do this renovation.
We did.
Okay. How much is your current apartment worth?
My current apartment is worth about $450,000.
Any mortgage outstanding on that?
No, because it was really inexpensive.
You're both self-employed. How much do you each make?
In a regular year or in like this bad year and last bad year?
Let's do both, like a regular year.
All right. A regular year, it's like 80 to 95 for me.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, it's about 150 to 200.
And what happened amid COVID?
Amid COVID, last year was really bad. Last year was probably like 45K for me.
Mm-hmm.
He did actually pretty well. He probably made about 100 and something.
Do you feel like you have a sense of how much it costs for you to live your lives? Like, you make a bunch of money, like you make 250 or 300, but you save a lot also, obviously, because you had money. Do you have an idea about like what it costs to support yourselves?
In a lean month, not lean being income, but in a month we just don't go out that much or don't spend
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money, it's about 9,000. And
Mm-hmm.
in a month we spend a lot of money, it's about 10 or 11.
Tell me about the savings that you guys have done with retirement.
I looked at mine. I have about 367,000 in a SEP IRA. I've got 99,000 in a Roth. And Sam, my husband, he has 237 in a SEP, 395 in a Roth.
Mm-hmm.
And we both do other non-retirement investments.
And what's in that non-retirement?
So I have in my brokerage 154,000
Mm-hmm.
and he has 700,000.
This is excellent. How old are you guys?
I'm 51 and he's 56.
Are you happy workers? I mean, you work from home and you're self-employed. Does that mean that you think you'll be working for a while? Like, what's your game plan?
I think I'll be working until I'm 65.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might work a little later. He's a really happy worker. I'm a pretty happy worker.
Wait, what does he do that he's so happy? Everybody wants to be that happy.
He's a graphic designer. He just loves it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why he loves it so much, but he does. I mean, no, his job isn't bad or anything. I mean, he has really nice clients. I think he's a really good designer, but I don't understand why someone could love working that much.
I love that. I think that's great. I think that's amazing. So he's going to be working for a while. How do you guys get your health insurance?
It's not technically catastrophic insurance, but I call it catastrophic insurance. We have Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's through New York.
Yes. And basically with Oscar, they cover your annual physical, they cover like OBGYN, and pretty much nothing else is covered until you reach a very, very high deductible.
I don't love that.
I don't love it, and it gets more and more expensive every year. So this year I'm going to revisit it, and I might go back to like a Blue Cross Blue Shield kind of thing.
Yeah, only because, not to like beat the drum of something that's so obvious, that you're in your 50s. That's when stuff starts to happen. And we want you to feel more, I want you to feel like comfortable because, it sounds to me like you've got good cash flow and you can probably afford to, do a little bit more. And so I don't know. I'm not sure that I would feel like it's not terribly important that you skimp on that particularly,
Yeah, it's probably not. I mean, it's also not as much of a savings as you would think. I think it's going to be, they say it's going to be 600 and something next year.
You got to pay more than that.
Yeah,
You're
I
gonna,
think I do.
Yeah,
I think I'm
definitely.
going to have to.
So tell me a little bit about so you guys are both going to use the adjacent apartment as an office?
We are, and we split it up where I have the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And the bedroom has, 4 walls. It's got the door, and I wanted the door.
Mm-hmm.
He has the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And the kitchen, we're probably going to use it as kind of an art room.
Well, what's good about this is because you are using this exclusively for work, it makes it very easy for your taxes. Very easy. Do you guys have an accountant?
We don't. And it's a long, long story, which I won't get into. But the reason we don't is even though we liked our accountant and he was very good at what he did, he was one of these very last minute people. And one year he mailed me the information I had to sign for my taxes when I was away. Like you can't depend on people being at home on April 13th to sign the papers.
No.
And so we don't. And we've been using TurboTax.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a little bit trickier for you.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So when you did TurboTax for tax year 2020, did you deduct a portion of your apartment because you were working from home?
Yes, we did.
Okay. You know what? At least for this first year where you have the apartment, I don't know, maybe you guys can do it on your own. Think about that. But everything that apartment is, sort of costing you in terms of like every single aspect of it will be deductible. It will be because you're using it for an office. It's not like, I have to calculate this. You just have to you have to just calculate the square footage to think about what is allocated to your income and what is allocated to his. That's it. So it's very easy to do. And I mean everything. So I mean electricity, and I mean cable and modem and everything else. Okay. Anything that is that apartment, that is all about a business expense. Okay.
Okay, that's good news because the maintenance is, I think, $800 and something a month.
Yeah. The whole thing, everything, totally done. I mean, you won't get the same deduction on your current, but it's actually easier. It's just easier accounting for it, frankly. It really is. The reason why I want you to talk to an accountant is that the renovation, because this is for business, it may be that renovation there's two different ways to treat it. The one is that, it's a capital expenditure for this thing, or it could just be a way to raise your basis in the apartment. So if you bought it for 3, the renovation you might say, okay, well, 3, it's really 4 because we spent 100 renovating it. And so when you go to sell it, your cost basis would be higher. But you should talk to an accountant about that also, for sure. So this is about like how we treat the apartment. What else do you need to know around the self-employment stuff?
I'm really wondering if it's time for both of us to become LLCs. We've been doing the tax filing as married filings jointly, and we just do the Schedule C, and we've been sole proprietors. But I'm wondering if it might be time to do the LLC because of liability. And I found out, I used to think that if you were an LLC, the taxes were really complicated, but I found out it wasn't.
No, it's the same thing. It's a pass through. It's as if now an LLC, literally you fill out a form with New York. Yeah. Like, I'm an LLC. Like, that's it. It's a very easy form to fill out. You have to wait. You can wait for a tax ID number or not. You can be a single member LLC that with just you. But I think the key to this next period for you is talking to a CPA who really understands the rules. And there are some really weird rules about New York City also, because New York City has a special tax called like UBT or some sort of business. UBT. Like, it's so the nonsense. There are things that you have to just keep in mind. I think that because you're both self-employed, it makes sense to actually have a diligent and non-procrastinator CPA.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was away and I got this email from him, and he's like, "I have mailed you the tax forms. You'll need to sign this document and scan it back." I'm like, "I'm not here."
Oh my God. Yeah. What unbelievable. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about the LLC. It's really not a big deal, but it may give you some advantages, and it may be just structurally easier to deal with. I don't know. Maybe it's a pain in the neck and it isn't. So we should find out about that for sure. And, keep saving. I mean, how much money do you feel like is going into those SEP accounts versus the non-qualified accounts? What's the combo here when you think about your savings?
I think it's pretty much, it's max out the IRA.
Yep.
And then whatever is left goes into a non-retirement brokerage account.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit of a control freak. And so I have a pretty healthy emergency fund.
How much?
I have 60,000.
That's great. That's perfect.
And actually together we have 80 something thousand because we're both a little bit, I guess, a little paranoid.
That's, you know why? Because when you're self-employed, there's no safety net. You are your own safety net.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to embarrass you, but Mark told me that you speak another language fluently. Is that right?
Yes, I speak Japanese.
Would you like to be the first Japanese speaker on the Jill on Money show to say something like, "Listen to Jill on Money. It is my favorite personal finance podcast," something like that?
Oh, sure. Of course.
Mark, are you ready for this? Mark this so that this can be like something you send to me all the time, Mark, when you want to put me in a good mood. You ready? All right, Sarah, say something great about the Jill on Money podcast in Japanese, please.
皆さん、ジル・アン・マニーに聞いてください。私が一番好きなパーソナルファイナンスのポッドキャストです。
Hi! See, that's how I got that. That was awesome. Thank you. I loved it. By the way, Mark, I don't know if you are a beautiful Japanese speaker. You said before we went on there, you lived in Japan for a little while.
I lived there for 4 years. And I grew up in New York, but I speak Japanese with my parents.
Okay, wait a second. Let me ask you something. Where did you live in Japan?
I lived in Tokyo, and I lived in this kind of expat neighborhood in the beginning called Hiro, which is near Roppongi.
Mark and I both loved our trips. We went separately, but we went to Japan, both of us. First of all, I was the tallest woman there, and I scared the crap out of everybody. I mean, completely nuts. And what I found was I just loved all of it. I loved the culture. The people were great. It's a little intimidating because when I was there, I wasn't around a lot of people who were speaking English. And obviously, when you have a whole different alphabet, it's a little daunting. I loved every second of it. I really did. Sarah, go forth. Let's get you a CPA. And thank you so much for hanging out with us and doing our first Japanese tagline. We really appreciate it.
Oh, wait, one more question.
Okay, go.
Okay. So I've got 340,000 or 360 in a SEP IRA, and I keep hearing people talk about this retirement time bomb. Do you think I should convert it to Roth?
I mean, you have a bunch of money in Roth already. Okay. If you converted it, then you'd eat up your cash. And could you still be putting money in? I don't know. I don't think you really need to do that. That's the way
Oh,
to do
yeah.
it. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Mark says if you're doing an LLC,
Yeah.
then you can do a solo 401k, and then you could potentially slowly convert the SEP
Yeah.
IRA into the Roth. But remember, you're going to have to keep extra cash on hand then.
Yeah, because of the taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, you're making a lot of money now. You guys are in a decent tax bracket. You're going to go back to your post-COVID earnings, right?
I'm
You're
sure I
living
will. Yeah.
right. You're living in New York. It's a high tax state. So, I mean, you're in 24-ish%. Maybe you could do that. But if you're going to maybe keep working and you're making less money in a year, like last year would have been the year to convert, right? Because you made less money. But I don't know. I don't have this huge like, oh, you should convert. Because I feel like you've got, 850 grand in non-qualified. You have basically $1 million that's already been taxed. I don't feel like that's the worst thing in the world. I think you're in pretty good shape. So I wouldn't kill myself to do it.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's kind of the conclusion I came to after doing a ton of research.
Sarah from Queens, thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to do the same, just hop onto the website, jillonmoney.com. Click the contact button and send us your note. Let us know if you'd like to come on the air. We sure would love to have you. And if you wouldn't mind, leave a rating and review because Mark says that matters. Do something nice for someone else today. Grit, growth, grace. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.